3 a.m. The haunting truth about the rules we murdered. Are you still following them? The clock struck 3, and a chilling silence descended like a heavy fog over the sleeping town. The world outside lay still, but within the walls of an old abandoned house, shadows danced grotesquely, whispering forbidden secrets. Sarah, with bated breath, ventured deeper into the darkness. Tales of her friends vanished from sight echoed in her mind, but it was the truth behind the rules that hooked her curiosity. They said the rules were simple, yet their consequences were deadly. Each rule broken twisted fate tighter around them, like a noose ready to pull submission from their lips. Sarah's step faltered when she stumbled upon a strange artifact, an old, tattered book lying open, as if waiting for her. As she approached, a gust swept through the room, flickering the candlelight and curling wisps of smoke into the shape of a hand that seemed to beckon her closer. She shivered, her heart thumping loud enough to drown out her thoughts. The letters danced in front of her, some glowing and unsettling green. It felt alive, pulsating with the weight of lives lost. The chill ran down her spine as Sarah's eyes flitted to the wall where scratches marred the paint. Each mark represented a name, a face, and they vanished one by one as the rules were broken. You could almost hear the cries woven into the air. What happened to them? She whispered, terrified of the answer. Her gut tightened, as if an invisible hand was gripping her. Was she next? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Sarah flipped through the pages, a chilling realization gripped her. Each rule was labeled with a haunting tagline. Do not speak the truth. Dare not wander alone. Never ignore the whispers. Each seemed familiar, echoing warnings passed down over campfires. The air grew thick, almost suffocating, as she remembered dismissing those old tales as mere folklore to scare children. But standing there, in the heart of the storm, she felt a knot of dread. Was she now part of this insidious game? Then, out of the silence, a low, raspy voice slithered through the shadows. You've broken the rules, now you must pay. Panic surged through her like wildfire. She turned on her heel, racing back toward the door, but it slammed shut with a bone-rattling crash. A shadow loomed at the edge of her vision, thick and dark, smothering the light. Who is there? She yelled, her voice trembling, heart pounding like a drum. The whisper fell upon her again, as if the very house breathed around her. Every instinct screamed to run, to escape. Whatever ancient force had awakened was not going to let her leave. Would she become another name on that cursed wall? How many rules had she unknowingly broken tonight? The walls closed in, and fear coiled tighter around her chest. Questions chased her thoughts like wolves in the night. Was it too late to turn back? Would anyone learn of her fate? A sliver of hope flickered somewhere, urging her to fight. As shadows swirled menacingly, Sarah stood frozen, torn between desperation and determination. The clock ticked on. The rules were coming for her, and soon she would have to confront the choice that might decide her fate. What would she do next? The air thickened, dripping with an eerie essence that seemed to hang over her like a dark cloud. Heartbeat echoing in her ears, Sarah felt as if the very walls were alive, listening, waiting for her next move. The shadows danced closer, and with them came the whispers, soft and taunting, like the breeze teasing through rusted chains. Reveal your truth, the voice croaked, sending spikes of ice down her spine. The book lay open, pages fluttering as if it had a mind of its own, inviting her to read, to confess. Instinctively, Sarah grabbed onto the book's edge, feeling its aged leather against her palms, both warmth and chill warring within her. Her breath caught as she read the first line of the next rule. To speak of what you see is to expose your soul. Was that what the others had done? Did exposing the truth invoke the wrath of whatever dark presence lurked here? Suddenly, sharp laughter pierced the air. Sarah turned, eyes wild, searching for the source. A form clung to the edges of the shadows, faceless and indistinct, yet undeniably present. It was as if fear itself had manifested, flickering in and out of existence. Her legs trembled as she willed them to move, to flee, yet she found herself rooted in place. Was it the fear, the urgency, or the intoxicating pull of knowledge drawing her back? Don't fear the truth, Sarah, the raspy voice urged, coaxing her like an old friend. Fear the whispers that betray you. Suddenly, the wall behind her shuddered and groaned, cracks racing across its surface, exhuming dust and debris. Names from the past began to surface, illuminated through the splintered light. Sarah's heart sank further, recognizing one. Jamie, the girl who had dared to speak against the rules. The chilling echo of her laughter rang in Sarah's head, a ghostly melody of mischief and doom. Time felt suspended, and each tick of the clock merged into one suffocating moment. Sarah clutched her throat, struggling to find her voice. "What do you want from me?" It came out as a whisper, quaking against the weight of dread. "Do you dare play the game?" The figure beckoned, stepping forward, the darkness fluctuating and swirling around it like a tempest. In an instant, Sarah's legs found movement, and she ran toward the door. But instead of solid wood, she was met with the impenetrable force of cold shadow. It pulsated with malevolence, as if 1,000 eyes watched her every frantic movement. Panic surged as she clawed at the surface, her nails scraping against something more than just the wood, something alive. "Breaking the rules has a price, Sarah," the voice echoed from all sides. "Each choice you make tightens the noose." Desperation clawed at her throat. She couldn't breathe. The swirling shadows closed in, drawing her deeper into their cold embrace. She could almost hear the whispers of those who had come before her, teasing and taunting, pulling her into their tragic tale. Suddenly, a single thought pierced through the chaos. The book. Was it a guide or a trap? Mustering all her courage, she threw herself against the book, hoping no, praying that it held the key to escape. She needed to make her choice. Was it time to speak the truth or to remain silent and risk becoming a whisper herself? The book flipped violently, pages whipping back on their own. The walls began to pulse in rhythm with her racing heart. And there, on the last page, a single line glowed ominously, beckoning her to reveal the unspoken truth. What would she choose? Time was running out, and the darkness crept closer, relentless and hungry for her to decide. The clock chimed again. The moment had come, and Sarah would learn whether the truth would save her or seal her fate. Would she have the strength to face it? The room shuddered as the clock's chime reverberated through the air, resonating in her bones. Each toll echoed like a heartbeat, reminding her of the urgency. Shadows wrapped around her, thick and unyielding, and the whispers intensified, a frenzied chorus pulling her deeper into a web of dread. With a trembling hand, Sarah turned her gaze back to the book. The glowing text pulsed softly, the words almost alive, begging her to read. "Speak the truth." The phrase echoed through her mind, warm yet terrifying. She had never been good at confronting her fears, had always preferred the safety of silence over the chaos of reality. But now, silence felt like a trap more suffocating than any darkness. "Time is up." The voice slipped from the shadows with a mocking glee, a chilling taunt that twisted her gut. It's either truth or oblivion. She squeezed her eyes shut, battling the racing thoughts flooding in. What truth? Was it about Jamie? About her own fears? She could feel the walls closing in, that cold energy gripping her throat tighter, squeezing her resolve with every heartbeat. Jamie was right, she whispered, remembering the girl who had stood up, who had dared to challenge the rules. The girl who had disappeared into the abyss after revealing what she knew. What if Jamie had exposed too much? What if the truth was more dangerous than she ever imagined? "Find your voice, Sarah?" The shadows hissed, their breath frigid, like winter air slicing through skin. "You must choose." A surge of defiance coursed through her. Her fear morphed into anger. She would not be swallowed whole by this darkness. Grabbing the edges of the book, she leaned in closer, as if willing the words to consume her. Her voice rang out, shaky at first, then building strength with each syllable. Jamie wasn't wrong. She just wanted to expose the truth. The rules, they don't protect us. They imprison us. As her voice echoed through the room, a tremor rippled through the shadows, as if they recoiled from her words. The pressure around her eased, if only for a moment. Good, good. The voice slithered nearby, its tone shifting from menace to something almost gleeful. But what did it cost Jamie? What price did she pay for her truth? The air grew colder, and Sarah felt a wispy tendril reach out, wrapping around her wrist, sending jolts of icy fear up her arm. Desperation clawed at her chest as she felt the weight of unseen eyes judging her. Will you pay it too? The laughter returned, hollow and mocking, causing her knees to buckle. No, not me, she gasped, wrestling against the darkness, the shadows maliciously entwined around her. But even as she shouted bravely, doubt snuck in. Would she be just another name written in these cursed pages? At that moment, the book sprang open again. Pages flipped violently, a tempest of printed words swirling in the air. Different names surfaced, names Sarah had never heard before, yet chillingly familiar. Each one seemed to echo a story of doom, each a stark reminder of what she might become. Choose wisely, the dark voice taunted, the shadows swirling dangerously close to her skin, eager to engulf her. Are you ready to embrace the truth? Heart pounding, Sarah felt the burden of choices thrumming in her veins. She teetered on the precipice between revelation and destruction. As she pressed her palm against the book, glowing letters met her touch, each glowing word demanding a sacrifice she could hardly begin to fathom. In a sudden moment of clarity, she realized that this was more than just about Jamie or herself. It was about every silent scream lost in the shadows, every truth that had been buried, and every soul that had vanished because of those unbreakable rules. With one last breath, she prepared to make her choice, knowing full well the weight it carried. But just before she could utter her revelation, a deafening crash shook the foundation around her. The walls split open, revealing a terrifying chasm swallowed in darkness. Sarah, the shadows called, seductive and fervent. What will you do? At that moment, she understood. The answer was teetering right on the edge of her resolve. Would the truth devour her, or would she rise to confront the darkness? As the ground beneath her quaked, a chilling question hovered in the air around her. Could she truly face the horrors of her past and the perilous truth that lay ahead? And before she could voice her answer, the darkness surged forward, eager to claim her. The shadows lunged at her, swirling like a storm made of pure despair. Sarah stumbled back, nearly losing her footing as the ground continued to tremble beneath her. She could feel the weight of the darkness pushing against her, like 1,000 whispers clawing at her mind. It was as if the very air around her wanted to silence the truth forever. Do you think you can escape? The voice sliced through the chaos, sharp and piercing. You'll only prolong your downfall. Panic gripped her throat, and for a fleeting moment, she thought of Jamie. The price Jamie had paid weighed heavy on her heart. Was this what remained of those who dared to know the truth? Dissolved into nothingness. Churning shadows whispered her own insecurities, echoing doubt where confidence once stood. Gathering every ounce of strength, Sarah locked her eyes on the book, still glowing defiantly in the midst of turmoil. It pulsed like a heartbeat between life and death, life and truth. No, she screamed, the word exploding from her lips like a battle cry. I want to be another sacrifice. As if the sheer force of her conviction ignited a flame, the shadows recoiled momentarily, allowing a sliver of light to seep through. The light reached out to her, warm and welcoming. It felt like a lifeline. Heart racing, she lunged toward the book, her fingers grazing its pages once more. Speak the truth, she read aloud, feeling the weight of each word settle into her bones. I must confront the shadows that bind me. They do not own me. The room shuddered as she spoke, the volume of her voice carving a path through the darkness. The shadows hissed, agitated by her defiance. What do you know of confrontation? You've hidden for so long. They encircled her, seeking any weakness, any crack in her resolve. But she was done hiding. I know enough. The energy surged within her, pulling from the very core of her being. I know what happened to Jamie. I know what I've lost. The words felt explosive, igniting something in the air around her. The swirling shadows hissed louder, frantic and furious, as if her refusal to submit stripped away the very essence of their power. She stood tall, her heart pounding like a drum, louder than the cacophony surrounding her. Jamie dared to speak. She uncovered the lies they spun. Her voice rang out clear, and with each word, the air crackled with energy. It was as though the very fabric of the room shivered with the truth she summoned. She fought for all of us lost to this darkness, And I will too. With a rush of ferocity, Sarah pressed her palm against the book once again. The glow brightened, illuminating the room as she leaned in, her words cascading from her lips in a fervent chant. I choose to rise. I choose truth. Suddenly, the ground beneath her trembled violently, the chasm widening ominously. Dark tendrils shot toward her, trying to pull her into the impending void. But Sarah didn't waver. Face the shadows. Face the truth. The words propelled her forward, channeling raw energy, forcing the dark tendrils to recede. The very air pulsed with her declaration, resonating through the room. And then, silence. The shadows froze as if waiting, almost intrigued. Do you dare to confront your own truth, girl? The voice was now quieter, more curious than mocking. The shadows pulled back slightly, like a retreating tide, but the fight wasn't over. Everything hung in the balance. Sarah felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her. She could still back away, inch back into the numbness she knew all too well, or she could leap into the unknown, facing whatever lay ahead. Just when Sarah thought she might have carved a sliver of light, the book quivered and a new page tore loose, fluttering like a trapped bird. It hovered before her eyes. The shadows drifted closer, their curiosity nudging her. Read it, they whispered, their voice dripping with a blend of anticipation and dread. What fearful truth lies in the words? The air felt heavy, charged with expectation as she reached out hesitantly, fingers trembling. What would she discover? Would it set her free or further bind her to the horrors she sought to escape? Just as she began to read, a sudden crash from behind the walls echoed through the darkness, freezing her in place. Sarah! A voice she recognized shouted her name, raw panic intertwined with desperation. Her heart raced anew. Who was it? Could this be another soul barred from the truth, or had someone come to rescue her from this nightmare? As the shadows enveloped her once more, Sarah faced the dark force and made her choice. Would she be strong enough to confront the revelation about to unfold? Or would the truth drive her deeper into the very void she fought against? The answers loomed just beyond reach, but she was ready to dive into the unknown. The crash rang out like thunder, echoing through the turmoil. Sarah! The desperation in that voice cut through the chaos surrounding her. She strained to see who it was, but the darkness thrummed around her, obscuring any hope of clarity. Jamie? She called out, each syllable battling against the shadows that tried to cage her in. But the answer was drowned out in the swirling despair that threatened to pull her under. The whispers grew louder, taunting her with words she couldn't quite grasp. Your past is inescapable, they hissed. Do you even know what you're asking for? You think facing the truth will save you? Summoning every ounce of courage, Sarah stepped closer to the book, feeling its warmth pierce through the darkness. She had to keep reading, but the tug of the shadows was relentless. They seemed desperate to consume her, wrapping tighter around her like chains. She plunged forward, trying to peel the page from the book, her fingers trembling. Let me go? Let me hear. With a rush, the shadows recoiled again just as her fingers made contact. The page fluttered violently, revealing words that glinted with a spectral light. She could feel it, a truth pulsating, begging to be discovered. Read it. The voice demanded, now urgent and frenzied. Taking a deep breath, she steadied herself, closing her eyes momentarily. What if this knowledge steeped her deeper into regret? She had to tread carefully. Every word brought with it a weight she could neither foresee nor ignore. I choose to understand, she declared, loud and clear. More than I fear. As she opened her eyes, she began to read aloud, each word clashing against the shadows as if her voice were a blade cutting through the darkness. In the depths of despair, we find the roots of our choices. The price of secrecy is blood that has darkened the truth you hide from. It has cast shadows across innocent lives. It has cost lives. The room shook, the shadows howling in protest at this unveiling. No, stop, they shrieked, as if her words wielded the power of the sun against their obsidian forms. You don't know what you're releasing. But she pressed on, the truth pouring out of her. It felt like a dam had broken inside her, releasing pent-up fears and sorrows. Every choice is a thread in the fabric of our fates. But we weave destruction when we silence the truth. The shadows wailed, swirling around her in a tempest of anguish. She could see glimpses of faces within them, lost souls, perhaps those who had been swept into the void. Jamie's face flickered like a candle in the wind, just out of reach. "Let me in, Sarah." The voice, still familiar and shaky, pulled at her once more. "Who are you?" she cried out, her heart racing, instinct screaming for her to break free from the chaos swallowing her. "You know." The darkness pulsed, each heartbeat a reminder of her past. Face it, or be consumed. With every ounce of will, she forced herself into the tumult. "I will not run." "Jamie, are you here?" The shadows hissed ominously as a glimmer of light began to shine from the book. It illuminated parts of the room she thought long buried. She felt a rush of fright mixed with determination stir within her. There before her, a memory played out like a movie, flashing images of laughter and warmth. And then, the betrayal, the whispers that led them to the darkness. She gasped, the truth about Jamie's fate unraveling. This can't be how it ends. But it was, just as the shadows drew in closer, reforming into the haunting figures of her fears. Each face was twisted with agony and despair, reminding her of the price they had paid for their silence. The shadows pulsed again. "Do you see? Do you understand the choice that lies within?" Sarah felt her heart in her throat. How long could she stand against this tide? One moment of hesitation, and she could fall into the depths too. Yet, she couldn't retreat now. She had to find Jamie or succumb to the void. Suddenly, the book flared with a brighter glow, almost blinding. Fate is malleable, but it demands truth, it proclaimed, as the light filled the room. The shadows recoiled, but one last tendril lashed out, wrapping around her wrist. It pulled tight, but she wouldn't allow it. She wouldn't be bound by the pain of her past any longer. With a scream that echoed through the turmoil, she yanked herself free. "I choose life. I choose Jamie." As her declaration devoured the darkness, everything shattered. The air crackled, the weight of 1,000 souls released, and for a fleeting moment, clarity broke through the chaos. But then she realized something crucial was still locked away, lingering like a specter. A secret, perhaps, that Jamie had carried to her grave or aimed to pass on. What lay behind the next revelation? Would the truth reveal the path to Jamie or deepen the darkness she was fighting so desperately against? "Sarah!" That cry sounded again, but this time it was softer, almost soothing. "Jamie!" she called, heart racing. "Is that you?" The shadows held their breath. And so did she. The silence stretched, as if the world itself had paused, waiting for an answer. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing in the still air. The shadows leaned in, their dark forms eager for a resolution, hungry for her hope. Sarah, the voice, gentle yet commanding, slipped through the thick darkness like a whispering breeze. "Jamie, where are you?" she shouted, panic rising like a tide threatening to engulf her. The shadows pulsed violently, responding to her desperation. They thrashed about, viscerally alive, as if sensing the maelstrom of her emotions. "Follow my voice," it beckoned, urging her as the shadows wrapped tighter around her like a noose. "You must face what you fear most to find me." Her breath caught. The invitation was both tantalizing and terrifying. What truths awaited her could either bring salvation or push her deeper into the abyss. But she couldn't linger in uncertainty. She had to act. Taking a step forward, she reached into the darkness, her fingers grazing the book's spine. It felt warm, pulsating as if it had a heartbeat. "I'm coming, Jamie," she yelled defiantly, her resolve solidifying. "I won't let the shadows take you from me." With every step she took deeper into the murky void, the atmosphere grew heavier, pressing on her mind. Memories flickered before her eyes, fragments of laughter, a joyful dance under the stars, and then a sudden scream that shattered the euphoria, leaving only despair. "Do you see?" The shadows hissed. "This is your doing. All those choices. I won't let you twist the truth," she cried, her voice ringing against the encroaching darkness. "I have to know. Show me." And then, in a blinding flash, it happened. The shadows released their hold just enough for her to stumble into a clearing, a bizarre paradox of light within darkness. In that space, where time felt stretched yet fleeting, stood Jamie, cloaked in ethereal light, a painful smile gracing his lips. Sarah, his voice broke her heart and mended it simultaneously. You shouldn't have come, I had to. She cried, desperate to bridge the chasm between them. Tell me what happened, Jamie. Why did you leave? The shadows twisted angrily, growing thick again. No. They howled. You mustn't listen. You're jeopardizing everything. But Sarah's eyes remained fixed on Jamie. His gaze was clear, unwavering despite the chaos swirling around. You need to understand, he said, his voice steady but laced with a hint of pain. The truth is dangerous? The echoes of the shadows interrupted, their cries sharp like knives. Dangerous to those who dare to know. You were deceived, Jamie pressed, eyes glimmering with emotion. But I was trying to protect you. A chill sliced through Sarah's heart. Protect me? Or protect yourself from the truth? Jamie's expression darkened. You don't get it. We made choices bad once. It's why you what? She pressed, each word tearing at her insides. Why you died. Why I was left with your ghosts. For the sake of your future. He shouted, the weight of hidden truths trembling in the air between them. The shadows surged forward, a tide of rage and despair. You dare question the past? They hissed, the darkness coiling like a snake ready to strike. You will suffer the consequences. Let her go? Jamie shouted, the power of his voice surprising even Sarah. She deserves to know. The darkness hesitated, and in that moment, Sarah felt something shift. You're not just a memory, she whispered, realization flooding her. You're still fighting. I am, he affirmed, his hazel eyes brimming with an old pain she could finally see. But it's a battle you must join. We cannot win this alone together, we can change the outcome. But the shadows didn't retreat. They thrived off fear, swirling in chaotic patterns, menacingly encroaching on their vulnerable moment. This is not your place, they snarled, their tones thick with malice. You will be erased if you choose to resist. Sarah glanced between Jamie and the darkness, sensing the weight of a grim choice pulsing in the air. What lay ahead was a confrontation that could either sever or bind them more closely than ever. Choose wisely, Sarah, Jamie warned, his voice steady but urgent. The truth can shatter lives or save them. Suspicion gnawed her insides as she looked back at him. What truth, Jamie? What haven't you told me? The shadows seemed to hold their breath, waiting for her next move, waiting for her answer. Time is running out. What will you choose? And just like that, as her mind raced and her heart thrummed with fear, Sarah knew the moment had come. Would she embrace the truth, facing her past, and leaving behind the safety of ignorance? Or would she succumb to the weight of secrets too painful to bear? With trembling hands, she took a step closer to Jamie, the decision looming before her like a storm cloud ready to burst. What revelation awaited her on the other side of her choice? Would it lead her to Jamie or plunge her deeper into the darkness that sought to consume them both? The air crackled with tension as Sarah stood on the precipice of a choice. Shadows writhed, an ominous reminder of everything that had slipped through her fingers. Jamie's light flickered like a dying star, and she could feel the darkness closing in, hungry for her doubt. Choose, Sarah, he implored, his voice weaving through her panic. What you're afraid of is your salvation. But what if it's not? She shot back, a tremor in her words. Just behind her, the shadows swirled ominously, ready to engulf any flicker of choice she hesitated to make. Every revelation comes with a cost, Jamie whispered, his expression somber. You must be ready to bear it. The shadows grew restless, each swirl a reminder of the danger lurking just below the surface. You'll regret this, they hissed, voices intertwining, the sound a cacophony of broken promises and shattered dreams. Each word was a dagger, embedding fear deep within her. You think you desire the truth? You will only find pain. Sarah's heart raced, caught in a storm of joy and despair, hope and trepidation. She was tired of hiding from herself, tired of the secrets that clawed at her. I need to know, Jamie. I can't keep living like this. Then step closer, he urged, his voice an anchor amidst the chaos. Face the truth, but remember some knowledge will chain you forever. She took a deep breath and stepped forward again, her body trembling with resolve. Show me. In that moment, Jamie's light pulsed, illuminating fragments of their past. A childhood home, now decaying and forgotten. Laughter transformed into screams, and behind it all, the shadow of a choice she had never seen. Keep your eyes open, he instructed, his voice but a thin thread against the rising tumult. What was sacrificed must be revealed. As the memories shifted, darker glimpses emerged in alleyway, cold and drenched in moonlight. A confrontation, harsh and raw. Sarah felt the bruises of betrayal wrap around her chest, a vice tightening its grip. It felt like stepping into water too deep to wade through. "Why didn't you tell me?" The words slipped from her lips, heavy with anguish. "Why did you protect me from this?" "The weight was mine to carry, not yours," Jamie responded, his expression pained. "I believed I could shield you, but in doing so, I set you adrift." The shadows snarled again, churning violently. "You think this is forgiveness?" they asked, the shadows swirling like a tempest. "You will drown in your pain, Sarah?" "No," she cried, defiance surging. "If I have to suffer, then let it be for the truth." Jamie finished, hope flickering in his eyes. "That can be your strength, but only if you own it." The world around her seemed to fracture, revealing more of the past a moment she buried deep. A choice about trust, betrayal, an edge of an irrevocable decision, one they had made together. The darkness hungered for that truth, clawing at her heart as she fought to steady her breath. "I won't let you drown me," she shouted into the chaotic swirl. "I choose to know. I choose to break free." At that very moment, something cracked like thunder. The shadows hissed in rage, their form twisting, as if recoiling from her light. Sarah felt her strength surge, bright and electric. In that fury, she stepped forward, allowing the full weight of her memories to wash over her. The truth was a double-edged sword, serrated and sharp. The darkness shrieked, and for an instant, Sarah glimpsed the heart of their nightmarish, binding a web of her own making. What once held her captive now lay exposed before her eyes. "What happens now?" she breathed, overwhelmed. Jamie's smile was bittersweet. "Now we fight back." But just as they reconnected, the shadows gathered again, relentless and fierce. "You will not escape," they roared, the threat reverberating through the very marrow of her bones. Sarah's heart raced, the familiar panic stripping away. She felt a surge of bravery coursing through her, like a match igniting in the dark. "Together, we will face them," she vowed, determination surging anew. But lurking just beyond their reality, a new darkness stirred, one that knew their greatest fears. The shadows clawed once more with a vengeance, and Sarah's resolve hung by a thread. Could they overcome the horror lurking close behind, or would the truth they fought for lead them into a nightmare even deeper? As the swirl of chaos closed in, one final question lingered like smoke in the air. What price would she have to pay to truly unleash the power of the truth? The shadows lashed out, a tempest of darkness cultivating the air around them. Sarah could feel the prickle of ice creeping down her spine. Each scream echoed in her mind, a reminder that the battle was far from over. She faced the swirling vortex, determined yet frightened, and tightened her grip on Jamie's hand. "Are you ready for this?" Jamie asked, his voice steady despite the encroaching chaos. Sarah took a deep breath. "I have to be." Her heartbeat thumped in tandem with the pulses of Jamie's light, a rhythm that promised hope but bordered on unending despair. The darkness surrounding them seemed to peel open, revealing the depths of their shared nightmare. Memories she thought she'd locked away began pouring through, raw and relentless. "Remember the basement?" Jamie's voice cut through her haze. Everything we buried down there, a scene ignited in her mind, vivid and taunting. The cold, damp air, the creaking floorboards, the echoes of forbidden laughter turning into gasps of despair. They had played down there, drawn close by the thrill of secrets shaded in shadow. But what had once been innocent was now suffocating, manifested in the sins of neglect and betrayal. "We didn't understand," Sarah yelled, desperation clawing at her throat. "We were kids. Those choices never truly left us." Jamie shot back, his eyes boring into hers, fierce and unwavering. "The truth waits in the darkness you've tried to escape." The shadows surged, preventing her from retreating. "You can't erase the wrongs," they hissed, a chorus of her past mistakes. "You think you can step into the light, that your truth will save you?" "No," she screamed, her voice splitting the thick, heavy air. "My truth will set me free." With Jamie at her side, she assembled her courage, thrusting against the inky tendrils of despair wrapping around her like creeping vines, tightening. Their bond radiated warmth and anchor in the storm. She remembered why she fought, not just for herself, but for Jamie, for every fragment of their shattered childhood that in that second, a blinding pulse erupted from Jamie, the light mingling with her own newfound resolve. The shadows bristled in reaction, recoiling as if burned. The cacophony of jeering voices faded to a whisper. "I see it now," Sarah shouted, a mix of fear and determination weaving through her veins. "The darkness isn't just around us. It lives in the choices we've made, and it grows because we've let it." In response, shadows swarmed, reflecting her inner turmoil. "You dare challenge us? You will pay for your choices." But instead of fear, anger ignited in her chest. "No, this time, we face it head-on." She charged forward, Jamie's radiant light casting an otherworldly glow that illuminated the darkness. The shadows writhed and shrieked, battling against their light, but their fury only fueled Sarah. Every muscle in her body vibrated with purpose. They had hidden from the truth long enough. With a mighty shout, she thrust her palm forward, sending a concentrated wave of light barreling through the oncoming darkness. It collided with shrieking shadows, exploding in a frenzy of color and sound. And then, silence. The swirling chaos stilled, revealing a charred void where shadows had lurked. Broken chains littered the ground, remnants of their burdens undone. Yet, as she and Jamie breathed in the aftermath, a chilling realization washed over her. "Is it over?" she asked, a tremor threading through her voice. Jamie shook his head. "No, it's only just begun." The ground beneath them trembled, cracks racing like spider veins across the surface. A new darkness emerged from the fractures, more profound than before, a presence both familiar and alien. "What is that?" Sarah whispered, her heart pounding against her ribcage. "It's the truth we buried away," Jamie replied, his brows furrowed, worry etching deep. "And we're about to confront the darkness we thought we left behind." As the creeping shadows continued to rise, ominous and all-consuming, one question lingered on Sarah's lips. Were they truly prepared for a battle against the truth they had once run from, or would it tear them apart, once and for all? The air hung heavy with dread as the fractures widened, dark tendrils snaking upward like ravenous serpents. Sarah's pulse quickened. She gripped Jamie's hand tighter, feeling his warmth seep into her. She drew strength from him. He was their beacon in this widening abyss. "What does it want?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper, as if the shadows could hear her dread. "I'm not sure," Jamie replied. His eyes glimmered with determination, but were clouded with fear. "But if we search for the truth, we might find a way out." Light pulsed within them like a heartbeat, but the darkness retaliated with a deafening silence. Sarah could feel the emptiness, chilling her bones, whispering insidious lies. "You're not strong enough. You'll fail again." "No," Sarah shouted, her voice fierce, breaking through the icy grip around her heart. "We won't fail. Not this time." With every ounce of her courage, she stepped forward, propelled by a force she barely understood. The shadows trembled at her defiance, swirling faster, their voices rising in fury. "Foolish girl, you think you can outrun your fate? Fate is just a word for the choices we make," Jamie declared, stepping up beside her. His light flickered boldly. "We own our past. We can change it." With that, a fierce glow emanated from their linked hands, a blend of memories and hope igniting the air. The shadows shrieked, recoiling as the light pierced their inky depths. Yet, as they resisted, shadows lashed out, each tendril laden with spectral images, memories Sarah had fought so hard to bury. She saw the faces of her childhood friends, laughter and tears fused into a kaleidoscope of joy and regret. But it wasn't just memories. It was a reminder of the betrayals and pain she feared to confront. "Stop!" she screamed, covering her ears against the cacophony of her worst moments. But Jamie's grip tightened. "Remember our strength. We've faced worse together." He moved closer, their light compressing into a blinding orb that pulsed with their unity. Together she echoed, the word igniting something fierce within her. Like a dam breaking, the memories flooded back, unceasing and powerful. Each face, each choice made, and every tear shed danced before her eyes. It was overwhelming, harrowing, yet she felt strangely liberated. The shadows recoiled, sensing their vulnerability. Your past will consume you. They howled, the desperate wails clawing at her resolve, but she refused to budge. She steeled herself, anchoring her thoughts on every single moment of joy threaded between the pain. Every choice made me who I am. I accept them. The darkness quivered before her confession, unsure of its ground. It lashed out, attempting to twist her emotions, but she embraced every fleeting moment of hurt, each haunting memory turning them into fuel for her strength. Together, she cried. The words imbued with power washed over them like a relentless tide, and the darkness shrieked in agony. The orb of light expanded, flooding the crevices, breaking apart shadow with every pulse. Yet, amidst the devastation, a darkness deeper than the rest flickered behind the remains. It was pulsating, swirling a heart of lies yet to be unveiled. What are you? Sarah breathed as the ground beneath her feet trembled, the presence looming larger, more terrifying than before. What truth lies at your core? We'll end this. Jamie yelled, standing defiantly against their adversary, but the darkness belched forward, engulfing the light. With an unholy scream, the deep shadow lunged at them, smothering the light in a thick wave of despair. Sarah's breath hitched as she felt the cold tendrils wrap around her throat, pulling her into the suffocating depths. In that moment, the shadows whispered promises of despair, her failures, the hurt she couldn't let go of. And that lingering question took root in her heart, wrapping her in doubt. But another voice, stronger, cut through the darkness. Sarah, fight back. With every shred of will, she tore free from the clutches of despair. Not today, she shouted, ready to confront the truth that lay hidden in the darkness, ready to uncover the legacy of their silence. As the shadows writhed and twisted, the final question loomed large. Would she stand her ground, or be swallowed by the very truth she had avoided for so long? The shadows writhed, their roiling forms vibrating with rage and desperation. The darkness bristled at Sarah's defiance. You dare challenge us? They hissed, their voices an echo of 1,000 fears. Yet as they lunged toward her, something shifted within Sarah. A warmth spread through her, igniting every part of her being with courage. Together, she whispered, locking eyes with Jamie, their connection shimmering with understanding. We face this together. The shadows shrank back, as if sensing the strength of their bond. You think your unity can light my darkness? One deep voice rose above the chaos, resonating with an ancient malice. You'll pay dearly for this. Then let us see. Sarah shouted, heart racing with raw emotion. She could feel the collective memories pulsing, and with them, the echoes of lost friends, their unfulfilled futures hovering just outside this dark storm. We'll face it all, because it's the truth that gives us power. With a fierce shout, they moved forward, palms entwined, shadows snapping at their heels as they surged into the heart of the darkness. Light exploded from their clasped hands, radiating outward in shimmering waves, pushing back the veil of shadows that sought to engulf them. The very fabric of their resolve stitched together in that brilliant glow. The shadows screamed, shrill and furious, trying desperately to reclaim their dominance. You cannot escape. The truth will only ensnare you. Not anymore, Jamie yelled, his voice slicing through the air like a sword. We choose our truth and our path. Together they pushed forward, engulfed in a whirlwind of memories, both beautiful and haunting laughter, the warmth of summer nights, and the ache of every painful choice. They absorbed it all. As they reached the core of the darkness, they could see it shimmering and pulsating like a heart struggling to beat inside a fractured chest. It radiated both fear and familiarity. What lies behind you? The shadows whispered, wrapping tighter around them. Will you embrace the pain of knowing? Are you ready to face what you've buried? Sarah's breath hitched, but she could feel Jamie beside her, the warmth extending from their hands anchoring her as they moved closer to the rapidly pulsating heart of darkness. I have to know, she murmured, determination surging with every beat of her heart. I refuse to be held captive by secrets any longer. Together, they took a step forward, their energy merging and expanding against the encroaching void. I choose to confront the past, she declared, voice strong and unwavering. I won't let you control me anymore. The heart of darkness writhed, pulsing in response. It released a wave of shadows that surged toward them, yet Sarah and Jamie pressed on, refusing to waver. Face the truth, they shouted in unison, their voices intertwining, intermingling strength with purpose. Then, with one collective shout, they lunged into the heart of darkness, arms reaching toward the core. Time seemed to slow as they connected with it, an explosion of light erupting from the center, a spiral of warmth chasing away the shadows. The darkness screeched, twisting and writhing as the light engulfed it. Flashes of memories of friends lost and bridges burned played out before their eyes, each echoing while shining brightly. Laughter, cries, regrets. But with each moment, they recalled the love, the joy, and the never-ending spirit of camaraderie that defied the darkness. Together, Sarah cried, her voice the guiding light. She felt Jamie's grip tighten around her hand, solid and true. We are powerful beyond this void. And then, with one final pulse of energy, they embraced the revelation, understanding that love could conquer even the deepest shadows. The darkness twisted and shattered like a fragile glass, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, the world around them brightened. As the last remnants of shadow faded into nothingness, Sarah and Jamie stood in a brilliant clearing illuminated with soft light. Their breathless laughter echoed through the air, mingling with renewed hope. But it wasn't over. The memories remained, raw and real, but now they felt manageable, woven into the tapestry of their past rather than chains around their souls. As Sarah looked around, she saw not just emptiness but potential. Can you hear them? Jamie whispered, pointing to the flickering light of souls released. The laughter had returned, intertwining with their own. They're free, Sarah whispered, realizing her heart was no longer heavy with regret, but light with understanding. But the journey of truth had just begun. She took a deep breath, ready to embrace the horizons that lay ahead. Let us not just follow the rules anymore. Let us write our own. They turned together, stepping into the light, bonded irrevocably by the darkness they conquered and the truths they embraced. As new paths opened before them, Sarah couldn't help but smile, knowing she had stared down her fears and emerged stronger than ever. The powerful sense of peace settled over her, a promise that the future would be shaped not by the shadows of their past, but by the illuminating strength of their shared truth. And with that final decision, they walked forward into the world, hearts renewed and minds eager, unafraid to face whatever came next. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending, because we want to hear from you. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Together, let us build a community that understands the power of the truth.